Welcome to the fifth lecture on the course Mathematics Modeling and Simulation. So this lecture is about approximations. So let's start. In engineering and scientific calculations, we are bound to do some mathematical approximations because we know that the linear problems are easier to solve. So how do we approximate a function properly to describe its behavior? It means that it retains its original properties. So in many analytic approximations are mainly derived from the Taylor formula. So what is this Taylor formula? If any functions is continuous and has the derivatives in general can be expanded into and approximated by Taylor's formula. So if we want to approximate f in the neighborhood of a, what we can do, we can use this Taylor's formula. So it gives approximation of a function near to the point A. Now this one is called as Taylor's formula in the neighborhood of point A. Now if we talk about the corresponding Taylor series, then if we take this limit n tending to infinity, we will get a Taylor series. So what will happen if we want to approximate the function to another point, say x is equal to b? So if we use the same equation, this equation number a, you can see, and if we put x is equal to b over here, we will get an approximation of a function at point b. Now obviously the Taylor series which is obtained near to point a gives the exact result at f of a. This can be seen by this figure. Since we have written the Taylor polynomial around a, so you can see that the original function is matching with this approximated function. But as we move away from this point, now you want to approximate the value near x is equal to b. So you can see that if I cut my Taylor formula over here, that is if I do a linear approximation and I am just considering the two terms, this and this, my approximated value will be over here and this is the true value. So this much is my error which is coming by approximating function fx at x is equal to b. Now if I use three terms for approximating the function at point b, we can see that here I am more coming closer towards this actual value. So this is again the error, and you can compare that the more terms I take, the error becomes lesser and lesser. So you can say that the accuracy of an approximation of any function improves with the number of terms used in the expansion. Now we will see some Taylor series of sine function, cosine functions, and these are the Taylor series of sine hyperbolic and cos hyperbolic. So it is very easier to calculate this Taylor series around a is equal to 0. So this is in fact called as Maclaurin series. If we produce the series around a is equal to 0, this type of series are called as Maclaurin series. So you can see that how the trigonometric functions can be approximated by these series, algebraic series. And similarly sine hyperbolic and cos hyperbolic can be expanded or approximated using this infinite series. Now we want to use the cos hyperbolic function to estimate the sag of tightly stretched string, or you can say cable. So now let that this is our string which is of length t. So I will write down, and L is the distance between the string. This and this length, in between this length is L, and the string length is T. So this one will be T half and this much length will be L by 2. Now this coordinate point is 0 comma C. That means that we have a ground over here. This is ground and this is C distance above the ground. So what we want to do, we want to estimate the sag of this tightly stretched string, that is we want to compute this h. So let us see how we can do this. We will firstly write the equation of the catenary. So to derive the equation of the catenary, we will just look at this function, that is which is equal to cos hyperbolic x. Now if I draw the figure of e to the power x by 2 and e to the power minus x by 2, I will have a graph like this. This one is y is equal to e to the power x by 2 and this graph is for y is equal to e to the power minus x by 2. Now if you add these two, you will see that you will get a figure like this. That means that you are adding both of these and you will get the graph of cos hyperbolic. Now you can see a similarity between this catenary problem and the graph of cos hyperbolic x. So with this similarity we will write down the equation of catenary. So the equation of catenary will be y is equal to c cos hyperbolic x by c. So this is because we can see that at x is equal to 0, if I see this point at x is equal to 0, I am getting y is equal to c. So this is satisfying. This satisfies the coordinate. So this one will be the equation of catenary. Now what we want to do, we want to estimate the sag. So for this I will just take the points over here. This point will be what? L by 2 comma this is h plus c. Now you write the equation of catenary, that is, and then you put the coordinates over here. So you will get h plus c is equal to c cos hyperbolic L by 2 c. So with this I will get h, which will be equal to c cos hyperbolic L by 2c minus 1. Now this is the formula for the sag because we want this only h. Now what we do, we will find the approximate value of this h using the approximation of cos hyperbolic function. So we can write cos hyperbolic L to c will be equal to 1 plus this. I have just shown you the expansion of cos hyperbolic. I am just using that, and in place of x I am just using L divided by 2c. So you can see that I am getting, now if I take minus sign like over here, I will get cos hyperbolic L 2c minus 1 will be equal to, and so on. So you can see that I got the expression for this. I have got the value over here. Now what I will do, I will put these values in equation number, you can say this is my equation number 1. So after putting the values from here, you can say from 2 to equation 1, what I will get? I will get h is equal to c. I'm just writing again the equation for the sag. So this we found out in equation number 2. So I will just replace this. Now if we neglect all these terms, these higher terms, what I will get? I will get h is equal to c L square 8c square. This and this are getting cancelled out, so I can write h is equal to. So you can see that we are getting a very simple formula as comparison to this formula. This was containing cos hyperbolic, which seems to be very complicated, and now you have a formula for the sag which is just this simple. So you can see that with the help of approximation we can derive some simple formulas, but this is good approximation only if your L square by 48 by c square is very much less than 1. Then only it gives you a good approximation. So I will write it as equation 3, and if this is less than equation 3 is a good approximation. So now we will do one more example. So this example is for Newton's law of gravitational attraction. So as you know that if I have two bodies of mass m1 and m2 and they are separated by the distance d, then the force acting between them, the gravitational force of attraction is this G, capital G, is a universal gravitational constant. Now if we talk about the gravitational force of attraction between the center of the earth and the object, so I can write F as G into ME into M divided by RE. So here ME is mass of the earth, RE is radius of the earth, and M is mass of object. So this one, this gives you the gravitational force of attraction between the center of the earth and a object of mass m. And actually this F is directed towards the center and represents the weight of the object. So we can write this as, this actually represents the weight. So I can write W is equal to GMEM upon RE square. So this one will be square. Now suppose that the object is kept at z distance or z height from the earth's surface. So what will be the force? So I will write down the weight of the body will be GMEMRE plus z square, where z is the height above the earth's surface. I will specify it over here. So this is weight at height z above the surface, and this is weight at surface of earth. So it is clear that this one is weight at the surface of the earth, and this one if the object is held z distance above the earth's surface. Now what we want to do, we want to get an approximate value for this formula. So let us see how can we do this. So I will write W again. This is G. So I can take this as common RE square, and then I will get like this. Now I can use the expression that is connecting the gravitational constant with the universal gravitational constant. So this is, you can say that this term G is equal to GME by RE square. This value over here, so I will write it as mg 1 plus ZRE. So this is my W. Right, now what I need to do, I need to use the binomial expansion to approximate this formula. So if I use, as you already know what is binomial expansion, so if I use the expansion, this will be 1 minus 2z by RE. RE means the radius of the earth, and so on. So this will converge only when value of z is very much less than radius of the earth. So this approximation holds good when z is very small than RE. And if you neglect the higher order terms, this, if you cut the series over here, you will find that you are getting W is equal to mg 1 minus 2z by RE. So this one is a very simple formula as compared to the upper, right? So you can see that with this formula, you can say equation number 4, you can find out the weight of the object which is kept at distance z from the surface of the earth. But this approximation will only hold good if your z is very small than radius of the earth. Otherwise this equation number 4 will not hold. And if you see this equation, what is a physical interpretation, that if you go above the earth's surface, your weight will decrease. As you can see that here we have a minus sign, so this means that weight decreases while going up. Here W will decrease when we go up above the earth's surface. So this interpretation you can make. Now we will do one question. This is saying that give a useful approximate formula valid for relatively small height, showing how the weight of the body decreases as it rises the earth's surface, or as it rises above the earth, and use the formula to determine how high it must rise to experience 1% of weight loss. So again we will use the formula of the law of attraction formula. So you know that what will be the weight at surface of earth, this should be GMEM upon RE square. And what will be the weight which is at height, you can say here height h above surface, it will be GMEM upon RE plus h whole square. Now if we take the ratio of both of these, I am writing it as equation number A, and this as equation number B. Now I am doing what? Equation B by equation A. So this one is weight of height h divided by weight at surface. So I will get the ratio as this. Now what we want to do? We want to find out the approximate formula. So I can write this equation as 1 upon 1 plus h by Re whole square, which is equal to 1 plus h by Re minus 2. Now if we approximate this with the help of the binomial theorem, we will get this. Now here also you can see that this formula holds true when h by Re is very small or it is near to 0. At this approximation I will write is valid only. This is, or you can say that h is very small as compared to Re. The same thing we derived. So in this question we were asked that to find out the height at which we experience a weight loss of 1%. So if we see that if I write weight at height h and weight at earth's surface, so I need to find where I experience a weight loss of 1%. So say it as W minus W by 100, that is weight loss of 1%. This will be equal to 1 minus 2h by Re. So this one will be equal to 0.99 will be equal to 1 minus 2h by Re, and this implies that you are getting 2h by Re will be equal to 1 minus 0.99, that is 0.01, and this gives you h will be equal to 0.01 by 2 into Re. Now if you put the value of Re as 4000 miles, because the radius is approximately 4000 miles, so I will get 0.01 into 4000, this is 4000 divided by 2, so I am getting the answer approximately 20 miles. So if you go 20 miles above the earth's surface, you will experience a weight loss of 1%. Now we will look what is algebraic approximation. Algebraic approximations are similar to Taylor approximation, but we do not use a Taylor series. So for taking some example, I considered a plate, it is given some heat, and then due to heat supply, what happened? There is some expansion. So let say that this is the width is W and the length is L. So when we supplied the heat, its length is changed by this much amount delta L, and its width is changed by delta W. So expansion is less or more, it depends upon the length of the material you are heating. Now this expansion in dimension is directly proportional to temperature. So I will write, now if you consider the expansion in length, we will write delta L by L is directly proportional to delta T. So this gives you delta L by L is equal to alpha delta T. And now what is this alpha? This is by removing this proportionality sign, I will get this alpha as a constant, which is the coefficient of thermal expansion. So this coefficient has different values for the different metal. You can see for aluminium it is this brass. So this alpha, which is the coefficient of thermal expansion, varies as per as material. Now if we talk about what is the expansion in the width, similarly I can write the expansion in the width will be alpha W delta T, which is similar as we have done over here. From here only, as you can see, this gives you delta L will be equal to alpha delta T into L. Similarly, we have written the change in the or expansion in the dimension of W. Now if we want to compute the change in the area, so what is area? This is length into breadth. So we will just write down what will be. So if I write the old area, this will be L into W, and if I write new area, this will be A plus delta A, that is. Now if I open this up, like if I multiply each term, I will get this will become a into 1 plus 2 alpha delta t plus alpha delta t whole square. Now we can see it in two ways, like we can approximate this in two ways. Firstly, so what is the first way? I can write a plus delta a as a into 1 plus alpha delta t whole square. So this will be approximately equal to a if you find that alpha delta t is very much less than 1. So this tells you that there is no expansion. And another way is that if you take this like a plus delta a is equal to 1 plus 2 alpha delta t. Now this expansion is true when you consider that this term alpha delta t whole square is very much less than 1. So you ignore this term over here and then you find the approximation. So here you can see that there is some change in the area, or you can say that there is non-zero change in the area. So this and this is called as algebraic approximation. This is algebraic approximation. As we do not use any Taylor series, but we got rid of some higher order terms. Now we will do one question. This is, to what temperature difference would an aluminium solid would be subjected for the surface coefficient of expansion to produce error of 1% in the area change compared to the exact area change. So how we can solve? We know that the coefficient of thermal expansion I have shown you in the table is this. So for solving this type of problem, you need to write down what will be the exact area change. Like this one will be the area after heating. So there will be some change. So A was original before heating, and after heating the area changed to A plus delta of A. So this one will be, this we already calculated. Now what will be delta if we found by this? A and A are getting cancelled out, so I can write A into 2 alpha delta t plus A square. And if you see the approximate area change, like by deleting this higher order term, I will write this as 2 alpha delta t. This one is approximate area change and this one is exact area change. Now what will be the error? Error will be the difference between the two. So if I talk about this, this is exact and this one is approx. So what will be the error? There will be the difference in between these two. So this will be A alpha square delta t square. So this one is the error. So what will be the percentage error? This will be equal to error divided by exact value into 100. So this one is given out to be 1%. It is given in question that what temperature, like what temperature difference would an aluminium solid have to be subjected so that the surface coefficient of expansion to produce error 1% in the area change compared to the exact area change. So this is already given. I can write it as in mathematical form, like this one is error, which I have already shown, divided by A, which is the exact value, which one will be equal to 1%, which is 0.01. Now you can use easy calculations to see that. I can write this as 0.01. So alpha square delta t square will be, if I take it over here, then I will get into 2 alpha delta t. Now putting the values of alpha, I can compute the value of delta t, that is 2 into 0.01 divided by 0.99 alpha. Now I have shown you the value of alpha is 24 into 10 to the power minus 6. So if you put, you will get the result as this. So you can see that even the temperature difference is so high, error is just 1%. Like if you considered approximate solution to find the change in the area, your result will have the error less than 1%. So this was a power of approximation. So approximated formulas may be useful in many situations. and sometimes it is not applicable. Now we will look to what is numerical approximation. As you know that all the measurements and all calculations involves approximations or truncations, and therefore they involve some kind of error. So to minimize these type of error, what we need to do, we should be very careful about what we read and record. Numerical approximation is different from Taylor series approximation and algebraic approximation because it is not directly introduced in the system, rather it becomes a part of the solution due to this numerical computations in computer or calculators, because we do it naturally and they are unavoidable. So you know some of the numerical approximations like round off. So you can see that these type of things or numerical approximations are unavoidable. So the numerical approximations becomes the part of the solution only due to the numerical computations in calculators and computers. So I will not talk about this numerical approximation because you have already done in your subject numerical analysis a lot about the numerical approximations. So these was about how you can do approximations in the model. I will now end this lecture over here. Thank you.